Hello, welcome to my craft channel Susie Makes. All about crafts. There'll be a series of videos in several different categories showing you how to do normally from the basic step upwards. For instance, I have a category in crochet, another in knitting, and I've started another in cross stitch, and there are many more to be added over time. Today's video is all about Bavarian crochet. Now this is a Bavarian crochet blanket I'm making at the moment, and you can see what a beautiful pattern it is. It's actually made up of 2 rows. Once you've done the foundation block in the middle at the beginning, which is that one, it's then made up of 2 rows, a series of half shells going around each between each diamond on the previous row, and the second row is completing that shell going across the top. So this is what you will be learning, how to do this stitch. Now, in order to do Bavarian crochet, it isn't really a beginner's pattern. I would say you need to know how to start a chain, join it into a ring, to do a double crochet in UK terms, and a double treble crochet. And if you know how to do those things, then you'll be fine to learn this pattern. Now, I'm going to put this one to one side for a moment. It's also known as wool-eater crochet, and there are many, you can see the pattern a bit clearer now. I've folded it up as well. There are many patterns out there using American terms, so I am going to do UK terms today. For those of you who'd like to give this pattern a try, it's a lovely blanket to make in the winter. It's a lovely warm blanket and called wool eater in America for a good reason. You do need a lot of wool if you want to make a blanket. But it's well worth it, very satisfying, very warm, and spectacular to look at when it's completed as well. So I'll put my one to one side at the moment and show you the foundation block of Bavarian crochet. Now, I'm going to show you in chunky yarn for the purposes of the camera. Just going to move that camera slightly nearer. And I'm going to be using a 6mm crochet hook for chunky yarn. Now, to start off Bavarian crochet, you need to chain 5. Depending on how tightly you crochet, you can, or how loosely you crochet, you can just do 4 or you can do 6. You'll get to know what your own tension is like. You probably already do. But I find 5 a good number for me, so I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to slip stitch that into a ring by slip stitching into the first chain that I made, and there you have the ring that you will work out of. Now, for Bavarian crochet, our height stitch is 4 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There you have your 4 chains. Now I'm going to make 4 double trebles, but I'm not going to take all of the stitches off as I make them. The final stitch of a double treble will actually be left on the hook, and then they will all be crocheted together once I have completed the cluster. So I'm going to make 4 double trebles now. Now, to make a double treble, to quickly show you in case you'd forgotten or not quite clear, is to wrap the yarn around your hook twice, because in crochet the length of your stitches are always defined by the amount of times the yarn is wrapped around your hook. So the shortest stitch, the double crochet, it isn't wrapped around to begin with at all. The treble crochet, you wrap it around once, and the double crochet, which is what we are going to be making a lot of in Bavarian crochet, it is wrapped around twice. So I've wrapped the yarn around my hook twice. I then put my hook into the center of the ring I have made. I always catch my tail ends down as I crochet as well. Saves a little bit of sewing in at the end. And you put your yarn over the hook, bring your hook through, catching that yarn, and you have 4 stitches on your hook. Now you want to take the wrap the yarn around your hook and take it through the first 2 stitches on your hook. Repeat that, wrap around the hook and take it through the next 2 stitches. Now remember, I said we don't quite finish off each stitch at this stage. So you've got your chain 4 sitting there, the loop sitting there, and now you've got your first double treble sitting there waiting for the end of the cluster. So we make 3 more double trebles. So yarn round the hook twice, just pull up some yarn there, hook into the center of your ring, yarn round the hook, pull it through, catching that yarn, and now you'll see you'll have 5 stitches, because you are gradually leaving the final stage of each double treble on your hook. So you do exactly the same as before. You take off the front 2 stitches by yarn over the hook and pull through the first 2, and once again yarn over your hook, pull through the second 2. Now you have your 2 double trebles and your chain 4 you started with. Make 2 more, yarn round the hook twice, into the ring, yarn round the hook and pull through. So yarn round the hook, take off the first 2, yarn round your hook and take off the second 2. As you can see, you have 3 double trebles and your beginning chain 4, so therefore you have 4 stitches sitting on your hook. So we need to make 1 more double treble, yarn round a hook twice, hook into the ring, yarn round your hook, pull through, yarn round your hook, pull through the first 2 stitches, yarn round the hook and repeat, pull through the next 2 stitches. Now you can see you've got your 4 double trebles and your beginning chain 4. So you have 5 stitches sitting on your hook altogether. Now you are going to take them all off together. So you just put your yarn round the hook once, and you pull your hook through those 5 stitches, and you're back to the beginning with just 1 stitch on your hook. And you see that makes that lovely almost oval shape there. Now to complete your first double treble cluster, you now chain 4 again. So 1, I'm just going to point something out here after I've done chain 1. This part of your chain 1 that sits on top of your double treble cluster is going to be very important in the rest of the pattern. See how it's made a little gap there? Well, that little gap is going to be very important in the rest of the pattern. So I've chained 1 out of the 4 that I wanted, so 2, 3, 4, and then you do a double crochet to secure it into the ring. And there you have worked the first double treble cluster with a 4 chain either side. Now you're going to do 3 more. So to begin with, you may notice I do not hold the yarn or the hook in the conventional way, the continental way as it's known. In crochet, I was a knitter for nearly 43 years I was a knitter, and I think I'm just too used to holding the yarn the way I'm used to in knitting, so therefore I tend to crochet a little in the style of knitting. It doesn't matter how you hold your yarn and hook, as long as your final outcome is what you wanted in the beginning, then it really doesn't matter. You hold your yarn and hook however you want to. Right, so now we're going to do another double treble cluster into the ring. We're going to make a chain 4 to start with. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have your chain 4. Now 4 double trebles. Yarn round your hook into the center of the ring, yarn round your hook, pull through. Yarn around, pull through the first 2 stitches, yarn around, pull through the next 2 stitches. And there you have your first double treble of the next cluster, sitting next to the 4 chain. Now we do 3 more. Yarn round twice into the center of your ring, yarn around, pull through. Yarn around, pull through the first 2, yarn around, pull through the second 2. There you have your second double treble. I actually managed to do that slightly in the wrong place. That's the beauty of videoing. I'm not even going to stop it, and I'm just going to carry on. I undid that. Here we go again. Went into the wrong part. That'll teach me to look at my work and not at the screen. So there we are. That's your second double treble. Third one coming up. There we are, and your last one for this cluster. There. Now remember, we now take your you now pull the take them all off the hook at the same time. So yarn round your hook and pull that hook through all 5 of those stitches. So you have your 4 double trebles and your beginning chain 4. Now we chain 4 for the other side of it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we do a double crochet into the center of the ring to secure it. And there you have done 2 double treble clusters into the middle of your ring. Now we need to do 2 more. Now let me just move these out of the way. I've got too much stuff laying on my desk. Give myself a bit more space, be a bit easier. Right, so to begin, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 4 double trebles for the third cluster, so yarn round twice into the ring and off we go. Take off the first 2, take through the next 2. 3 more, yarn round twice into the ring, yarn round hook, pull through. Yarn round hook, take through the first 2, yarn round hook, take through the next 2. Each time leaving that last stitch on the hook of each double treble until you have completed the number of double trebles you want in your cluster. So here we go with number 3 of this cluster. 1, 2, 3, and the last one for this cluster. And there you have your 4 double trebles with your chain 4 at the beginning. So we go yarn round hook, take the hook through all 5 of those stitches together. You've just got one working loop on your hook. Now we chain 4 to complete. 1, 2, 3, 4. And double crochet into the ring to secure it. Now, I am actually planning to type these instructions up in UK terms. I know there's plenty out there in USA terms, but I am planning to type these up as well. And this video will probably be done in 2 parts because it is quite an involved. It's not a complicated pattern, but it can take a little bit of time. So there you have your 3 double treble clusters, and we have one more to do. So we start by chain 4, 2, 3, 4. First double treble into the ring of the last cluster. This is number 2. You know what I did? I actually forgot to leave that final stitch of that one on the hook, didn't I? I wonder if you noticed that before I did. So off we go. Leave that final one on there. Almost there now. Now, as soon as I saw this stitch, I absolutely fell in love with it. And the very first blanket I did, my sister took a liking to, and I haven't seen it since. So I'm actually just making myself another one. That was a couple of years ago actually. Right, we're finishing off our last double treble cluster with a chain 4. Now, because we're back to the beginning, we don't want to do another double crochet to secure it. We want to slip stitch into the base of your first chain 4. To bring them all together. And now you have this nice little petal shape going on here. It does look a bit bunched up at the moment, but I promise you it all settles down the more you do. So now we're going to do the top part of each, actually call these shells, or petals. We're now going to go round and do the top part of each one. Now, remember I said at the beginning of the chain 4, the second chain 4 you do to complete the double treble, you do a first one, then you do your 4 trebles, and then you finish with the chain 4 and secure into the ring here. And remember when we did the second chain 4 to complete the first double treble cluster, I said that very first chain of the second chain 4 was very important because it leaves this little hole on top of your double treble clusters. Well, now we're going to be working the top of the shells or the fans or the petals, whatever you want to call them. We're going to be working into that. I'm actually going to be doing 12 double treble crochets into each one of these tiny little holes. And you might think, oh my god, that'll never squeeze in there. Trust me, it does. So I'll just see if that comes up any clearer by just giving it a little bit of a stretch. Can you see that? There you have your first chain 4, then your 1, 2, 3, 4 double trebles, and you finish off with a chain 4. And the first stitch of that second chain 4 creates this little loop at the top, with this little gap at the top of each cluster. Now I'm going to be working into there. Right, so at the moment we're sitting here, having just completed that first round. Now to go from here to this little loop that sits on top of each cluster, you're going to need a bit of height, otherwise it's going to be a bit scrunched up. So you give a chain 2, do a chain 2 to give you that height so that you can reach up into this shell. Now you only do a chain 2 at this point. All future rows only a chain 1 is needed. Just needs a little bit of extra height when you first start, so we do a chain 2. So chain 2, wrap the yarn around your needles. It's going to be double trebles as before, but this time we're going to be completing each stitch as we go, so I'll show you. Now there's the hole that I was showing you. That's at the top of the double treble clusters that we've made. As you push your hook into there and we make a double treble. 1, 2, 3, and we don't sit them on the hook like we did before. We see it through back to your starting chain. So you've got your chain 2 that you've just worked, and now you've got the double treble that you have worked into that little loop that sits on top of each cluster we made in the previous row. So we do 3 more of those to begin with. So yarn round twice into that little hole gap there, yarn round, pull through first 2, pull through second 2, and this time we pull through the last 2. So now you have 2 double trebles. So you do another one into the same, every time into that tiny little space, but you watch how it develops. It'll look lovely. And make sure you complete each stitch back to your starting chain. There we are. So there's 3. Now there's 4. Now I know I said there's 12, and there is. Be patient. So there's your first 4. Now in between each 4, it's 3 sets of 4 you do into this little gap. You do a chain 1. Chain 1. Because those chain 1 gaps are where you will be working out of in future rows. Now we do another 4 double trebles. So yarn round twice. And here we go. One, 2, 3, and 4. So we've done 4 double trebles a chain 1 gap, and now we've just done the second lot of double trebles, so we want another chain 1 gap and the last 4 double trebles into this hole. Just excuse me one moment, I think my cat Billy is coming to say hello in a minute. And here we are. I think she might have changed her mind. Hopefully, anyway. Right, the last 4 double trebles into that gap is 1. She does sometimes, Lily her name is, but she does sometimes like to get in on the picture. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the last 4. Can you see how it's developing now? See, these are for your beginning petals or bottom of the shell. And now we have just done 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've got 12 double trebles, and I told you they'd all fit into that little hole sitting on top of the double clusters of the previous row. Now, do you remember we started with a chain 2 in order to get the height we needed to get from where we finished on this row up to here? Well, we end with a chain 2 to keep it all nice and symmetrical. So 1, 2. Now you remember the double crochets you did in the previous row to secure each double treble cluster, and there it is there. Well, you work into that. Some people work into the stitch that sits on the top. Some people, like me, I prefer to work through the 2 bars of the double crochet. Let's get that crochet hook in there. See how my crochet hook sits between the 2 bars of the double crochet on the previous row? I'll make sure it's gone through the same 2 bars on the back. So there. And you do another double crochet, so yarn round your hook, bring it through, yarn round your hook. There. And now you have a double crochet sitting on inside the double crochet of the previous row. Now we need that height again to get from here into the next loop that sits on top of the double treble cluster of the previous row. So that height was a chain 2, and remember I said it's only this row you do chain 2. All future rows for this will be a chain 1. I don't really know why, but it just needs that little bit of extra height on the first row. So off we go, hook into that gap that sits on top of the double treble cluster of the previous row, and we do chain double treble cluster 4 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's your first 4. We do the chain 1 because we want that gap to work out of in future rows, and we do another 4 into that same little space. 1, 2, 3. The beauty of this stitch is you don't even have to put a border on it, because this second row, as I said, each row in future will be made up of 2 rows. It's such a pretty edging when you get to as big as you want your blanket. There we have the second 4 double trebles, and now we do another chain 1 and do the last 4, making it 12 in the top of each double treble cluster of the previous row. And this probably is the most complicated part. Well, there's one more part that we actually don't do in this foundation block to start with, which I will be teaching you in the second part of the video for Bavarian crochet. Apparently the stitch was, story has it, the stitch was invented by a mother and daughter in Bavaria. Just have a quick count. So, careful not to count your chain 4s from the previous row. You only want to count your double trebles. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1, and 4. So I've actually done the 12 double trebles in the top there. So I do a chain 2 to finish it off the same way I started. Find the double crochet on the previous row, wiggle my hook in between the 2 bars, front and back. See that? And finish off securing it with a double crochet. Now with this stitch you do actually, sorry, I'll get back to that story in a minute. You do actually have to just pull it slightly to make sure it sits nicely. But there you have 2 completed. Now we're going to do exactly the same in the last 2. Feel free, if you feel you've got the hang of it now, to skip through to the end of the video if you want to, but I'm going to carry on until I've completed this first block. But as I was saying, so here we go, chain 2, and then we do 4 double trebles into the top of the 3rd cluster. There we go. But as I was saying, it was story has it that this stitch was invented by a mother and daughter who lived in Bavaria during, I believe it was during the war. Hence the name Bavarian crochet. It is also, as I said, known as woolly to crochet. I believe it might even have 1 or 2 other names. Someone said they thought of it, it was called a Hungarian crochet, which it could well be. Whatever it's called, and my personal favourite is Bavarian crochet. I just think it is a beautiful pattern, made from some relatively simple stitches. So there you have your first 4 treble clusters. Chain 1, do your next 4 into that same gap. I know crochet doesn't have much of a recorded history, Not a lot of it was written down. And we are experiencing a massive revival in crochet all over the world, and in this country largely in part to a lovely lady called Lucy, who runs a crochet blog called Attic 24. I certainly had my interest in crochet piqued by reading her, discovering her blog and reading it. It has just taken off in a massive way. And like I said, I was a knitter for many years before I decided one day I was going to sit down and teach myself to crochet. And I taught myself the granny square. Still have the granny square blanket, my first one that I ever made. Maybe I'll show that to you next time. And then one day I was looking on Amazon for a particular book, and I saw the one for Bavarian Crochet, and absolutely fell in love with it. So my daughter bought me the book, and I haven't looked back. There, I've completed the third one. So we finish with a chain 2 as we started. Find the double crochet between the double treble clusters of the previous row. Wriggle your hook through the 2 bars, front and back, and do another double crochet. There. Only got one more to do now. So it does seem like it won't all fit in, or it'll be too bunched up, but I promise as it gets bigger it does all even out. So we start the last one with 2 chains as we have started each one, and you find that gap at the top of the double treble cluster, and we do 4 double trebles. As I say, I hope you're enjoying these videos. Here's my first 4, chain 1 into the second 4. If you are, then you may wish to subscribe so you don't miss future ones. As I said, I'll be covering a whole host of crafts. I don't know if you watch any of those craft channels on the TV, but I absolutely love those channels. I don't like all the crafts, I must admit. I recently started paper crafting, and I must admit I'm not a particular fan of die cutting, but I do love stamping and zentangling. There's my second 4, chain 1, and my third 4. I love scrapbooking, anything glittery I love to play with. All these things will be included in my craft videos. I love quilling, I love colouring, another one I've discovered lately. I love sewing, patchwork and quilting I'm not terribly good at, but I absolutely love making raggedy quilts. Don't know if you've ever heard of them, but I will be doing a video on how to make a raggedy quilt at a future date. There we are, coming to the end now. Yeah, that's the last 4. So I chain 2, find the double crochet of the previous row, and it's a bit tighter, that one, so I'll just open up the gap a bit there. Make sure it goes through the bars either side, your hook, front and back. And I don't finish with a double crochet, I finish with a slip stitch, because now you cut your yarn, pull the yarn through your final loop, and remember I said that you will have to pull it around a bit. Just let me cut off that bit of tail end where I started. Remember I said I crochet mine in. Well, that's nice and secure because I crocheted it in, so that's why I can just snip it. Right. And as I said, you just want to pull these around a little bit to appreciate the shape and tease it into the shape that you want occasionally. And as you can see, doesn't that look pretty? You've got these little 2 chain gaps in between because to give it the height. My cat Lily might just be putting in an appearance after all. She's sitting there making up her mind at the moment, just off screen. Oh no, she's off. She's obviously a bit camera shy today. But anyway, so there you have the first 2 rows of your foundation block. Now in the next video I will be showing you how to do the next 2 rows, and then after that you just continue growing your blanket or whatever it is you want to make by doing those same 2 rows until you've got the size you want. So thank you for joining me for this beginner's look at Bavarian crochet. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do watch out for part 2, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.